All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Sunday Futures Show. I know I'm late, 7 minutes today, but it's because we're trying out something different with the chat or with the studio. So not perfect yet. We still got a lot of work to do, but we got a standing desk, and I really like it. It's really cool. So one of the things I wanted to make a change of, and I'm not fully certain if we're going to keep it like this, but probably going into next year is I want to start standing up while doing the shows, because I don't know. It's just you're talking for 3 hours, kind of want to stand up versus sit down. And I got a standing desk, got all the stuff that I need, got the new computer right here. Again, still doesn't necessarily look the right way. It's kind of tilted backwards and stuff, so we're still figuring stuff out. But as Aaron says right there, I'm a stand-up guy. So, this is the arc of becoming a comedian. Ultimately, we're just standing up now. So can you stand for 3 hours? I don't know if it'll be the full 3 hours, but definitely at least the beginning hours of the shows. I definitely do want to stand up. And if I want to go back down, we can. Boom. See how this just goes down? This is so cool, dude. This is so cool. Like, this is like I've never had a desk like this. And now we want to go back up. We just go up. Again, still not perfect. I got to switch a bunch of things. This stuff is like kind of weird right here in the back. Got to fix things up. But we got the desk built over the weekend. So, yeah, here we go. So, we are standing up. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Again, I'm sorry I was late, but I was like trying to make sure this thing was correct at like 7:45, and it took 7 more minutes. All right, we got a lot to talk about. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is the Sunday's Future Show. If you're new to the channel, we do a show every Sunday before the market opens to discuss futures. We have Robinhood overnight markets opening up at 8 p.m. in about 7 minutes. It's going to be interesting to kind of see what price action looks like. And then we have futures that opened up at 6 p.m. Things are relatively flat, nothing too crazy. VIX is up a little bit. S&P and small caps are down slightly. But other than that, nothing too crazy going on. So in 7 minutes, we will see how the market opens. Bro built like a Christmas tree. All right, so let's get started. I have a lot of topics. I want to discuss a variety of different things that we have going on. Number one, I think we got to talk about it, guys. I don't know if you guys have felt it over the weekend. I've definitely felt it in terms of the sentiment, maybe not in the Palantir community, but in the broader investing community. But it's about Palantir. And it is about the quote unquote massive overvaluation about Palantir, how things are just going crazy. And this is the biggest bubble in the world. I mean, quite literally, there are tweets that are going viral over the weekend claiming Palantir is the biggest bubble in the world. So we got to talk about it and kind of have a discussion in terms of what's going on in the context of Palantir. As Melanie says, haters are going to hate. So this is kind of what I'm thinking is happening right now with Palantir. I think there's a lot of people that missed out on the run, and they're obviously not happy about it. And every dollar the stock goes up, we add about $2.2 billion in market cap, and people don't like it. Especially a lot of people that have missed it. Now, why did a lot of people miss it? Well, a lot of people thought this would never happen. A lot of people thought this was never going to be a real thing for Palantir. And as a result, you got a lot of people that are doing this while a lot of investors are kind of sitting like this. I saw this on Reddit over the weekend. This was this was great. This is literally every Palantir investor watching other investors complain how overvalued Palantir is, but you're sitting there and you're just like, maybe even if it's on paper, maybe the money's not real yet, it's on paper. But still, it's one of those things where you're like, all right, so I need to be upset. Why? I need to be angry. Why? I think it's a lot of people that ended up missing this run. That is not me saying that this stock is not obviously expensive right here. Yes, I can't justify 150 billion through any conventional metrics. I don't think anyone can, which is why over the weekend we had a really good Palantir episode on Palantir Weekly trying to figure out how do we justify 150 billion. And I think we had a lot of good takes. It's funny. There's people on Twitter and the general finance universe that are like, these guys are paid shills, paid pumpers, all these like stupid takes that they're throwing out. And I'm just like, dude, if you knew anything about the Palantir community, it's the furthest thing from paid shills and paid pumpers. That's like GameStop. That's AMC. That's all these meme stocks. Palantir, like we've been objectively since 35. We've been like, yeah, dude, the valuation is getting up there. Yada. It's like we try to bring such strategic and sophisticated analysis because a lot of us don't consider ourselves GameStop, AMC types of bulls. We actually remain objective. But the broader community in investing doesn't care. They just look at valuation and they end up saying that this thing is overvalued and horrible. This is the institutional holdings of Palantir. So this right here is another reason that I think people are upset, because obviously the stock has gone higher for one of these reasons. I mean, if you take a look at that, we are now inching in on $1.3 billion, billion shares that are held by institutions. That is quite the big jump. I mean, that is a huge jump in regards to institutional ownership. And those that are saying, they can't understand the valuation, this right there kind of gives you an explanation. The toots have been buying. Now, are they dumb for buying a $140 billion company, $130 billion company doing less than $3 billion in revenue? That's up for the market to decide. And look, the toots will sell one day if they're really upset. If Palantir misses on earnings, they'll sell as quick as they buy, right? It kind of goes both ways. But that is the story right there. Like, it's so funny, all the anger that these finance people have around Palantir because the numbers don't make sense. It's like, why are you angry at us? We're the ones that have been here with, a couple thousand shares holding at $6, $8. We're just like holding on to what we got, believing this could be really big. Be mad at those guys that are buying this shit at $120, $130 billion that have billions of dollars of capital. Retail did not add $50 billion of market cap to this company. Palantir is not even that much of a household name for retail to do that yet. Obviously, the institutions from that picture we can see have been buying up the stock. And so I guess my kind of basic assumption here, or basic argument here, is that I don't know if Palantir continues to keep going. There is an argument where it's not stopping. There's also an argument where, all right, like it's chilling out a little bit. And over the next few weeks, I think we're going to see kind of how the market ultimately thinks of Palantir at the end of the day. We have 2 minutes until the market opens on Robinhood. Here's another quick discussion I wanted to do before the market opens on overnight trading. Insider selling. So Carp did sell 4.5 million shares on Friday. Again, Carp has been selling a ton, right? Like it's pretty obvious Carp has been selling and he's been taking profits. I've been, pretty upfront about every time Carp sells that, yeah, maybe some of it's for taxes, maybe some of it's for other stuff, but at the end of the day, he's for selling. He's taking profits. I think there's 3 thoughts on this that are really important. I'm not going to read all 3 of these word for word, but Palantir's tripled in under a year. Most people will take profits. Carp is doing the same, especially someone who's been at the company for 2 decades. Number 2, and this is my big thing to everyone who keeps asking me, Amit, what do you think about him selling? I'm like, I don't really care, but if you care about Carp selling, then you sell with him. I see a lot of people complaining, but then they're holding on to their position. It's like, okay, so you don't like the insider that's selling, but now you're holding on to your shares and you're saying it's a red flag. It's a red flag. It's not like you don't have a chance. You could probably sell at a better price than him. And I've been saying this since 35 that, he started selling at 34, 35, and everyone has been able to sell at better prices than 35 over the past 6 months. So if it's so bad and so scary, you trim with him. If you have 5,000 shares and you want to trim 20% just to get the itch off, then all right, do that. Like, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. And then third is just like, no one's giving Bezos or Jensen a hard time, right? Everyone's upset about Carp. There's a lot of nasty things they're throwing at them. I'm like, wait a second. Bezos just got done selling like $4 or $5 billion worth of stock, and everyone made a joke out of it called the Amazon wall at 200. Carp selling, there is no wall. Every time he sells, the stock just goes higher, and everyone's upset at him, and he's the worst person in the world. Every major tech CEO is selling. It is absolutely ridiculous to single out Carp as the only guy who's selling. Jensen, Bezos, Zucks, Sundar, Tim Cook, the only other guy is Elon. And Elon can't do it because he promised everyone he wouldn't sell after he sold to buy Twitter. So Elon's the only one that's not doing it. But if all of these guys are selling, then obviously you either get so upset that you take profits with them, or you just are like, all right, this is the name of the game. When stocks are up this much, you get to a point where as an insider, you have to take profits. And that's what we got going on with Palantir. All right, overnight markets are open on Robinhood. Let's see what we got going on. Palantir, $66.64, up 1.32%. $66.64. We did close above 66 back on Friday. Robinhood slightly up 25 cents, $32.57. We got some big news on Tesla as well, so we'll be talking about Tesla in just a minute. Tesla is, oh my goodness, $330. Tesla is up 2.89% currently right now. So you got Tesla that's up. Snowflake 126. They have earnings this week. Nvidia has some bearish news this morning. Let me see if Nvidia is down. Nvidia is slightly up. It looks like it's about to go red, but it's up 0.01%. So Nvidia is flat. Coinbase and MicroStrategy. Coinbase is 303. Coinbase is down a little bit. MicroStrategy, Bitcoin, I think is down. MicroStrategy is down 0.48%. Where's Bitcoin? Bitcoin was at 90,000 for the majority of the week, or for the majority of the week and majority of the weekend. Last night, Solana went through the roof. Bitcoin, 90,000. It's still holding 90. Not crazy. Not crazy at all. Star Buccaneer says, sup, Amit, you look tall. Thank you for being here, Star Buccaneers. This is my plan to get taller by standing during the streams. That's the only reason that I'm doing this. Apple's at 225, Amazon's at 203, Cisco 57, Shopify 108, Microsoft 416. Hims is up 3%. All right, they got clobbered last week, down 30%. They're up 3.21%. CleanSpark doesn't trade overnight, but Riot is down a little bit, 0.81%. Marathon is down a little bit. So the miners are down basically 1% right now. Miners are down basically 1%. If you're standing, you look small. No, I look taller now, right? Like I am short though, dude. When we meet in person, you guys are gonna see me and be like, oh, this guy is short, dude. 5'7", 5'8". I'm gonna wear my boots to these meetups, dude. I'm gonna get another 2 inches. Try to get close to like 5'10". Try to do that. Palantir at 67. All right, there you go. Again, we ring the bell during the market open on new dollars because overnight you just don't know, right? But yes, Palantir is 67. It is a good sign for tomorrow to see if we can hold 67. Oh, I like this. I can show you guys stuff very easily through. I like the standing up part. I think I gotta tilt the camera a little bit so it doesn't look like I'm always looking at this direction. So this is the thing we gotta experiment with. But 67.30 up 2.3%. But I like this. I really like this. Oh, I figured out a way to not make the camera die. There was a setting inside of the camera. Do you guys know how the camera always dies and I would have to like switch the camera? That shouldn't happen anymore. Have you guys noticed over the past week, like it's only died after like multiple hours, not after like 30, 20 minutes. There was a setting inside of it. I just had to change it. Literally for 2 years, all I had to do was like change the setting, and I didn't do that. But now the settings changed, so that's good to go. I gave this 20 minutes, then you'll be sitting. Dude, you underestimate my potential and my stamina. SMCI did file over the 67.50. Goodness gracious, Palantir. SMCI did file that they will be submitting their 10K. That's why the stock is probably up 18% right now on Friday. Late after Friday, they announced that was happening. So that's why the market's probably like, you know what? If they're going to submit their 10K, they'll be okay. I still wouldn't touch this thing, dude. This thing is still very risky. So I'm not touching it, but hopefully that's a good reason why SMCI continues to go well. Rocket Lab does not trade overnight. That one does need to trade overnight, though. That one's important. Palantir, holy crap, 67. You thought people were mad on Friday, bro. I mean, let me show you guys some stuff. 67.85. Oh my goodness. This is not a joke, bro. This is like becoming kind of real right now in terms of this price action. 67.85 right here. I gotta work out a couple things on Zoom right here. This is a little bit too zoomed in, but let me see if I can navigate this. All right, so let me show you guys the tweet by the tweet that went viral over the weekend, because people obviously are not feeling this overvaluation stuff. So there's a bunch of different accounts that basically are just like, this is the most overvalued thing ever, and this is this is one of the, let me just pull this up right here. I think the big thing to understand right here is that when something has momentum, you don't fight against it. And right now, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency companies, they have momentum. Palantir has momentum. Now, having a momentum with 2.2 billion is kind of wild, right? Like the fact that they have 2.2 billion shares and they still have this momentum, it's insanity. $68, 68. We just hit 68. You guys see this? There you go. 67.97. Wow. 67.97, up 3.34%. So here's the post that went viral. Market cap of 147 billion with earnings of 476 million per year. This is one of the worst bubbles I've ever seen. This tweet got 1.4 million views. So obviously it has resonated with the broader investing community, at least on X, to think that, hey, this is a ridiculous valuation being put on the stock, and it is a bubble. Let's ask the chat. What do you guys think? Bubble or no bubble? What do you think? Type in bubble if you think it's a bubble. Put in no bubble if you think it's not a bubble. And bubble, again, I made this definition a couple months ago. I'm going to stick with the definition. Bubble is a 50% drawdown means it was in a bubble. And so 67 divided by 2 is what? 30-something? 34? Did I get that right? 67 divided by 33.5. Okay, so 33.5 means that this was bubblish. What do you guys think? I think that's a fair definition. 50% to me, 50% drawdown absolutely feels like a bubble. 20%, 30% is all right, it got expensive, but 50% was like, all right, like it didn't make sense at the market cap of 147 billion. And again, numerically, it doesn't, but there are other ways to value this stock outside of just pure numerics. A lot of you guys are saying close to bubble, but not a bubble yet. No bubble, no bubble. Bubble, bubble, but not ready to pop. Look, that could also be fair. That could be a real thing. You think it'll get to 32 or 40? Am I the only guy who thinks fair value is 100 to 125? I just think at this moment on, less than 500 million of net income, 125 would be like close to 250 billion. I think that's a bit much for the lack of net income and the lack of free cash flow. Eventually it'll get there. Just might take some time. The thing about Palantir, dude, is we all thought $68, call it right now. Let's just call it 70. We thought $70 would happen 4 years from now. Like we celebrated 30 this year. Next year, we were supposed to celebrate 45. The year after that, we were supposed to celebrate trying to get to 60. The year after that, we were supposed to get to $80. So like in my head, I was thinking, all right, 2027, 2028, maybe we're pushing 100, right? Like we're closing in on 80. So that would be closing in on $175 billion market cap, which already was ambitious. I was in 4 years to get to 175 billion. Remember, Salesforce is only 300 billion. The Palantir is not going to do 40 billion in revenue or 10 billion in free cash flow by 2028. So I had pretty lofty ambitions from that perspective. It is here right now, right? It is here right now. And so it's pretty damn incredible that we're getting there already. And so the broader question simply becomes, all right, if it's here right now, does that mean the market has pulled forward way too much growth? And on the bearish side, they're not going to be able to live up to that growth. Therefore, it's going to take a hit. Or has the market pulled forward so much of their growth because they know that they're going to grow even more than that, which is upwards of 30%. It has to be 35, 40%, at a base minimum over the next decade. And we don't really know the answer to that question, which is why I don't want to sell. Right? Everyone's like, why aren't you taking? I was like, because I want to be part of the story. Like, it is what it is. If it comes back down, I'll DCA. It's not that serious. It's not that big of a deal. If you don't need the money, then you leave it. And if you do need the money, you take some profits. But I'm definitely not going to use insider selling as like the worst thing ever. And that's why I need to get rid of Palantir. It's just not, to me, the craziest thing, George says bubble, but it's all good. Bubble, but it's all good. Dude, George, you are the definition of this picture, bro. You are absolutely the definition of this picture, but it's all of us that are. I saw this on Reddit the other day, dude. It was so funny. This is literally everybody. This is literally everybody. And so I told you guys too on Monday or on Friday, I saw someone on Reddit. They were like, is it too late to buy Palantir? And the guy was like, no. Market's open until 8 p.m. You're good. You have time to buy it. That was hilarious. I'm not buying at 65. I'm not buying at 65. The numbers really don't, or 67. The numbers don't make sense to me to decide to DCA into it. But that doesn't mean it has to go down. That doesn't mean it has to keep going up. I think the market's going to decide. The fun thing is, if you're in this world, you just kind of see how it plays out. Again, what's also really interesting about this is a lot of people, a lot of bulls that I know, covered calls are getting hit. And it's tough when your covered calls are getting hit, right? So I think a lot of people would like a retracement just to get out of those damn covered calls, and then they might never write covered calls on Palantir again. But it is Robin at 32.50 right now. It is one of those things where there's not only bears that are wishing for a little bit of a retracement, but bulls are as well, because it would help people get out of the sticky situation of their covered calls. I don't think we know what's going to happen, but I think trying to explain it via the numbers is not fully accurate. And I think trying to just say it's a bubble and it's becoming a lot of hype when we look at that institutional number is also very difficult to get away with. It's really, really hard to get away with, oh, this is absolutely a bubble. And then you see the institutional ownership go up the way it does. The institutions have to be the dumbest institutions in the world then to be buying at, call it $40 plus. And, maybe they are, maybe, but they would have to be pretty damn stupid to be buying the sucker above $40 if Palantir is not going to be able to grow into it. And maybe they have a chance. Maybe they have a chance to grow into that, and it could help them. Lackability says, bruh, I'm in a lecture right now. Lackability, what's up? Thank you for tuning in, even though you are in a lecture. What is SoFi? SoFi. I want to look at SoFi after hours. So we got SoFi in the overnight markets. They were at 1383. SoFi up 1.43% as well. Okay, so that's what we got on Palantir. $67.85 right now. We'll keep revisiting it throughout the entire stream. Let's move on to Tesla. But overall, for those that are not part of the financial Twitter universe, yeah, there are a lot of people that are upset. You got posts like this getting 1.4 million views. There's even more posts going viral around Palantir's quote unquote bubble status that it's in right now. I think people just got to sit back, enjoy the ride, and stop, getting so emotional about this just because they missed this. And if you really hate it, you sell. It's like not that hard. It's very, very simple to navigate this. And if it goes down 30, 40%, it's going to sting. But I think a lot of OGs in the communities are very ready for that 30, 40% drop. A, because we get to buy more shares. B, because a lot of us know, like, yeah, getting to this level already is pretty aggressive, and that's okay. I just think the people that are asking, they're saying it'll go back to $15, $10, $20. It might be tough to get there. It might not be the easiest thing, especially given the AI thematic and world that we are entering into for Palantir. All right, Tesla. So Tesla is up right now. So Elon, first of all, did you guys see Elon walking in with Mr. Dana White and Donald Trump on UFC? So I was out yesterday. I was in New York City with my boy Adam. In fact, so Tesla right there up 3.52% right now. In fact, not only was I out yesterday with Adam, I was also, I saw something. I don't know if you guys saw this post on X, but I saw something. The amount of top comments I got under this, dude, was kind of ridiculous, dude. But there you go. This is what I found walking through New York City. This is what I found. Now, what I didn't tell people is that this is Adam's car. So this is Adam. It was his car. That's how I was able to conveniently find a Palantir car. He also has another one called Palantir Bull. I posted that in March. So yeah, he has two cars with Palantir on the license plates. I got to do something like this for my Tesla. But so I was with Adam last night. A lot of people called top as soon as they saw this sticker. They didn't know Adam's been here for like 2 years with this license plate. But while I was in New York, I woke up to this picture. This picture was wild, bro. Elon, Trump, RFK eating McDonald's inside of freaking Trump Force One in his airplane, right? They were all at the UFC fight together. Now, they're all together. They're doing their thing. RFK looking uncomfortable there because he has to eat McDonald's. Probably doesn't want to eat that, but there you go. They're all together. And then you see this a couple hours later. Breaking. The Trump administration is reportedly planning to ease regulations for autonomous vehicles in the U.S. Hold on. What's going on there? And obviously what they were talking about on that airplane wasn't just only UFC stuff, but I think Elon was doing some 4D chess. Last week, Tesla fell 7% because everyone was afraid, or at least the street was afraid, that Tesla was getting rid of, or Trump was getting rid of the $7,500 EV tax credit. And then getting rid of that $7,500 EV tax credit was bad because it would discourage Tesla to get more sales. Instead, you are getting a trade-off here where a $7,500 EV tax credit might be gone, but Elon is getting an ease of regulation on autonomous vehicles. And that right there is the most important thing. Sorry, guys. I don't know why I'm coughing too much right now. I don't know if standing up makes you cough or something. But that is why I think Tesla's up. Oh my gosh, bro. No one told me when you stand up, you have to start coughing more or something. Okay, let me take a drink of some Gatorade. Let's see if this helps. You coughing because I don't smoke, dude. I don't know why. Okay, this should be better. I don't even want to look at the jokes from coughing. I don't even want to look at the jokes. Okay, cool. So basically, Trump now is easing up regulation. So there was a good Bloomberg article on this today. And this is the big article that we want to read through a little bit to go deeper from here. So Trump team is seeking to ease U.S. rules for self-driving cars. Let's read a little bit from this currently right now. This is why Tesla's up right now, because the $7,500 EV tax credit does not matter. What matters is regulations on autonomy. And it looks like the new commissioner of the Department of Transportation is going to get the job done. Members of President-elect Donald Trump's transition team have told advisors that they plan to make a federal framework for fully self-driving vehicles one of the Transportation Department's priorities. If new rules enable cars with human controls, that would directly benefit Elon Musk. He has bet the future of the EV maker on self-driving technology and AI. Current federal rules pose significant roadblocks for companies looking to deploy vehicles without steering wheels or foot pedals in large quantities, which Tesla plans to do so. The Trump team is looking for policy leaders for the department to develop a framework to regulate self-driving vehicles, according to people familiar with the matter who asked not to be named publicly. While the Transportation Department through the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration can issue rules that would make it easier to run autonomous vehicles, an act of Congress would clear the way for mass adoption of self-driving cars. A bipartisan legislative measure being discussed in early stages would create federal rules around autonomous vehicles, two of the people said. This right here is 4D chess. This is why Tesla's up right now. Elon's in the plane with Trump saying, hey, Mr. Trump, Tesla, wow, up 5% right now, 335. He's saying, hey, Mr. Trump, can you get autonomous vehicles deregulated? Can you ease up the regulation so I can actually conduct my business and I can actually try to expand the empire that Tesla can become one day? But we need to make sure that we have the regulatory frameworks and guidelines set up for us to be able to navigate this. And I think Trump's given him what he wants. So this is a direct result of Trump hiring the right people, putting the right people in the right positions to retransform how we think of autonomous vehicles. We know it's the future. We know people are saying autonomous vehicles are safer than other types of vehicles. The data showing that AI is much safer than regular humans driving. And if that is the future, then we need to have regulatory guidelines and guardrails to be able to maximize the potential of that future. But the winner of that future, if the frameworks from a regulatory perspective are set in place and the technology is better than everybody else, is obviously Tesla, which is why Elon doesn't give two shits about the $7,500 tax credit. Elon cares about regulation. And it looks like, again, it truly looks like that is the 4D chess that Elon's playing right here. He does not care. Tesla 337. If you have less cars, he cares about autonomy. And the way to get autonomy is to get regulations on your side. And now he has someone in the White House who can give him what he wants. Palantir 67.15, down a little bit from that 68 level, but it is up 2.10% right now in the overnight markets. Let me check the volume on Palantir as well. How many people are buying it right here? SoFi volume is about 15,000 overnight. Palantir volume overnight up 2% is 69,000. And then Tesla might be about 100,000. Tesla volume overnight is 227,000. Tesla 337.55 right now. That's Robinhood. Yeah, the platform I'm using is Robinhood for those that are asking. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think this is bullish for Tesla? I don't think that this is bearish. I really think if they are seriously creating regulations that are tailored towards self-driving, Elon has done it again. He has absolutely done it again. I think Tesla share. This is why the stock went up dramatically on the day of the election and a couple of days after, because at the end of the day, I mean, this is why Bank of America upgraded the stock purely based on the Trump pump. Their argument was that if Elon is in Trump's ear and Trump can get things done, this is something Elon can never get done with Pete Buttigieg or never get done with Biden. Like, there's just no way. He didn't have the political capital to actually make this happen. Ron Barron says Tesla can be a $30 trillion company over the next decade, or sorry, $10 trillion company over the next decade if they continue to execute. And primarily if AI and the self-driving opportunity does not fall to the wayside. And it looks like Tesla has the opportunity to really capitalize currently right now. And they've got Trump in their back pocket, which is also very important. Karthik says, I actually got assigned 300 Tesla stock at 320. All right, well, so far, you shouldn't be the most upset about it, given we're at 335 right now. It's Barry says Tim Cook does the same thing with Xi Jinping in terms of cozying up with them. Yeah, but look, again, this is at the end of the day, this is what you want from business leaders, right? I know everyone thinks they live in a fantasy world where business and politics don't mix together, and you can be a billionaire and not have to have political ties or just go with the flow of the administration. But that's just not how it works, right? Like, you've got to be intertwined with the new administration to be able to make sure that you actually get things done and that you're like top of mind when they're deciding policy. And there's no one who's more top of mind than Elon after spending God knows how much money on Trump to get him elected. This is the payoff. And the payoff is to the tunes of hundreds of billions of dollars if Tesla obviously can execute. I mean, even potentially $1 trillion if they can double over the next 4 years as they continue to gain market cap and awareness from the broader sector. So this seems pretty exciting to me. Question now is just ultimately how they continue to execute. But those EV tax credits that scared everybody last week, it doesn't look like they're going to continue to scare people as much. Here's Dan Ives quickly talking a little bit about what we saw. Let's share this real quick. When it came to Tesla earlier this week.
In 7 trading sessions, that's $280 billion of market cap. We're talking like 5x of Volkswagen. Doing that in a week. Why?
Get the popcorn out. I mean, I believe this is just the beginning.
That's an expensive movie.
I think it's just the beginning because of the autonomous and AI piece. And I ultimately believe now with Trump in the White House and Musk a very big seat at the table, this is the start of what I believe is autonomous is going to get fast-tracked over the next few years. And when I believe the AI autonomous piece alone is worth $1 trillion of valuation to the story.
Let me jump in. You say fast-tracked. What does that mean? Fast-tracked by who?
Well, if you look on the federal agency side, I mean, even there are some things in the state, that's really been the spider web that I believe has been holding the autonomous FSD and a key part of the valuation for Tesla, because my view is if you start to significantly increase FSD penetration and you look at Cybercab, where Street doesn't even think that's coming out till 2027, 2028, you fast track that 2 years, you look to ultimately see now the autonomous story really play out. I don't believe any autonomous valuation is factored into Tesla even today.
It's got to work though, and they've already got a playground for it, California. Have they demonstrated it works? Are Waymo doing a better job?
Look, when you look at Waymo, ultimately the scalability for Tesla is what I believe is the key. And I think when you look at this latest FSD, when you look at the latest version, and you look at what I believe what we're going to see over the next 6-12 months, I believe autonomous, when we talk about level 4 and true autonomous, we get to the end of next year. If regulatory spiderweb disappears, which I believe now it is, I think this dramatically changes the Tesla story. And I believe we're going to be sitting here talking about Tesla 2 trillion and so on as the AI and autonomous piece play out. Because I think for Musk, this is a bet for the ages on Trump. And ultimately now he essentially becomes not just a big seat at the table, but someone that's going to have a huge influence even when it comes to China tariffs and others.
I mean, I think Dan Ives is on the money there. I really do. I think this was a poker move, and it is one of the best poker moves that Musk has ever played. It worked out with Trump getting elected. Now he just needs to make sure his relationship with Trump stays good. And based on how they were at the UFC last night, just the energy that was in that room and excited for Elon and Trump and Dana White together. As long as that relationship stays well, which I think there is a risk, because I mean, people have had relationships with Trump that went sour, and we saw that in the first administration. As long as the relationship doesn't go sour, I think Elon will continue to get different things that he wants. And if so, then that should ultimately be bullish for Tesla at the end of the day. Okay, cool. So that's what we got on Tesla. Let's talk about NVIDIA. So NVIDIA right now in the overnight markets, let's see if they're down yet. I expected them to be down like 2 or 3%. NVIDIA is down 0.5% now. Now, why is it down 0.5%? Well, not a good report from the information today. New NVIDIA AI chips are overheating in servers, the information reports. Let's read a little bit from this. New Blackwell chips, which have already faced delays, have encountered problems with accompanying servers that overheat, causing some customers to worry they will not have enough time to get new data centers up and running, the information reported on Sunday. The Blackwell graphics processing units overheat when connected together in server racks designed to hold up to 72 chips, citing sources familiar with the issue. The chipmaker has asked its suppliers to change the design of the racks several times to resolve overheating problems. According to NVIDIA employees who have been working on the issue, as well as customers and suppliers with knowledge of the issue, the report said without naming the suppliers. We know the suppliers are obviously SMCI, Dell, HP, etc. NVIDIA is working with lead cloud service providers as an integral part of our engineering team and process. The engineering iterations are normal and expected, a company spokesperson said in a statement to Reuters. In March, NVIDIA unveiled Blackwell chips and had earlier said they would ship in the second quarter before encountering delays. Now, the Blackwell chip looks like it might continue to be delayed if the overheating in the servers continues to be an issue. So what do we make of this? I don't think it's that big of a deal for the next quarter because obviously Blackwell demand has ramped up and Jensen has made it pretty obvious to the world that Blackwell demand is ramping up and that's not going anywhere. But the problem is their guidance going into Q1, I think, is something now a lot of people are going to be a little scared about, or going into Q4 earnings. So NVIDIA is expected to do 32.8 billion. That's the street number, 74 cents of EPS. Street really wants 34 to 34.5 billion and about 80 cents of EPS versus 74 cents. And then they want guidance of anywhere between 36 and 37 billion. Is the delay based on these servers actually going to stop the delay in their overall guidance? Because last quarter, if you remember, they beat, but they didn't beat as bombastically as the street wanted them to beat. And unfortunately, it was because, they had a little bit of a delay of Blackwell. So this is going to be very important now. Granted, if this issue started happening over the past couple of weeks, then that is not a good thing because that definitely impacts Q4. But if it only, started happening over the past couple of days, maybe NVIDIA can get this under control. Maybe they don't have to deal with that much of a delay. Palantir right here, 67.43 in the overnight markets. But this will definitely be something that the market looks at tomorrow, and they're going to, ask themselves the question, hey, is NVIDIA going to be supply constrained for a little bit right now? We just got Tom Lee's Sunday report, so let's open that up right now and see what he has to say. So that's what we got on NVIDIA, Palantir, and Tesla. The next thing I wanted to talk about is kind of more macro stuff, obviously Bitcoin as well. And I think the way to transition into macro is to pull up Tom Lee's Sunday report and see what he's saying. And the title of this report already indicates to me that he is concerned about something that everyone is concerned about as per the data we got this week, which is inflation. Inflation. We'll talk about Hood as well. I got some new updates on Hood. Oh, by the way, let me say this right now. I bought Grindr. I'm in Grindr. I'm in 500 shares. I'm in Grindr. 1412 is my average. So just wanted to give you guys an update for anyone who wants to know. I'm in Grindr. I will be publishing the DD probably this week. But I'm in it. I'm in the story, and I think it'll be good for long term. My plan is to average down if it gets down to 13 or 12, because it probably will get down to 13 or 12. But I did a lot of more research over the weekend, and I think there's a thesis. And so I will send out all the DD, and you guys can check it out if you're interested. I'm not going to be talking about it too much. I think there's some basic DD. To me, I think there's upside of 30% to $19. I did some math. I'll explain how I get there when you look at users, ARPU, etc. I don't expect the $19 to happen over like Palantir adding $2 every single day. But the covered call premiums aren't bad either. And when I buy a new stock, I look for covered call premiums, and covered call premiums give you 2-3%. So to me, if I can wheel it and own it for the long term, then that is the goal. So I will send some DD out a little bit later. Mikey says standing desk with all caps. Yes, we are in the standing desk era. All right, so here's what Tom Lee just said 2 minutes ago. Is inflation threatening to hold back stocks? Stocks gave back some of their gains from the post-election surge last week and then some. Much of that followed worries about inflation and its effect on Federal Reserve policy. Investors got the chance to review fresh inflation this week, with CPI showing inflation no closer to the Fed's 2% target. However, core CPI arrived roughly in line with expectations. Tom Lee said it was better than it appears at first glance. That was Tom Lee's first argument when it came to CPI. A 30% annualized surge in used car prices. By the way, that's why I got $15K for my Honda Civic. Used car prices are absolutely insane. A new Honda Civic is like 35 grand. So now I get why I got 15 grand for my old one. The prices are just going up for the used car market. That contributed to the rise in core CPI. Head of data science Ken Yuan hypothesized that used car prices were affected by previous hurricanes, and Lee concurred, using it as a distortion that will disappear next month. Okay, so Tom Lee doesn't think that's going to last for a while. As he reminded us, the used car CPI component tends to lag the Manheim wholesale used car prices by 2 months. If this trend holds, then based on recent Manheim data, this component is set to tank. That would be bullish if that actually does end up tanking. As implied by the Fed funds futures trading, odds of another rate cut at the FOMC meeting in December surged from 55% to 82% after CPI data was released. Lee saw this as evidence that bond investors agree with the CPI assessment. In my view, the bond market realizes that core CPI of 0.28% should really be viewed as 0.2% month over month if one strips out the impact of used car components, and that is basically at the Fed's target. However, it's not 82% anymore. I mean, now we are back to now we're at 60%, 61.38. So it's not 80% right now. We're still at 61.38. Crude oil is below 67. Wow. Oil dropping is definitely bullish. Yeah, it's up slightly right here, 67.05. The futures look like they're down. The more that goes down, hopefully that helps with inflation as well. Looking beyond the immediate term and through the end of the year, Lee remains constructive. At our weekly research huddle, he suggested that investors are being too skeptical. Just remember how many times this year we heard someone warning that a recession was imminent, or that the labor market was falling apart, or that the Fed was behind the curve. I think the same wall of worry is in the place now, but we know that seasonals are really strong, and at the end of the day, the Fed is still dovish. Lee does see a possible near-term issue, which is discussed in the chart of the week below. Head of technical strategy says broader breadth on a larger scale is very good in my view. He said, but short-term breadth is what concerns me. Historically, after elections, we've seen the market start to turn up sharply with breadth of 4-1 or even 5-1 positive. But this time it was more like 3-2. Almost a third of stocks did not participate in the post-election day rally. That's fair. I mean, what really rallied was like Tesla and Bitcoin proxies. I still have a lot of confidence in the stock market between now and the next spring or summer, but I'm just not certain it's going to be a straight shot up. I have short-term concerns, and by short-term, I mean probably over the next 4 to 5 weeks. I think it's definitely wise to not get too complacent right now. So you got Tom Lee's team continuing to be a little skeptical around the technicals of the market going straight up post-election, and we saw a little bit of a pullback on Friday. I mean, on Friday, we saw the Qs go down by 2.5%. It was the first time we saw the red Qs basically in 2 weeks since Trump got elected, and my reaction was that it's pretty healthy. It's pretty damn healthy seeing that happen. And obviously all the Qs were down outside of Tesla because tech went down. However, they feel inflation's still on the way down. And I think now the biggest question that everyone has is, will inflation actually come down at the levels that we want it to come down? That is the question. You guys are still concerned about Grindr. Dude, I'll do the DD one of these days. I'll do like a full podcast, just me streaming myself talking about Grindr. It'll be like an hour-long episode. Yeah, like it's not that crazy. I think it's headed to $20. I don't think it's headed there overnight. It'll take time. Remember, if anyone gets into, you guys remember, this is not a liquid company. There's like a million shares traded every single day in volume. Like, it's very unliquid. So if you want to get into it, you have to be ready to just hold this thing, which I'm ready for, and that's the goal. So I'll talk about it in the future, but it's not that complicated of a thesis. They're growing users, they're growing conversion on users, ARPU is going up, their EBITDA margins are fantastic. And so from the numbers, although it's a little expensive right here because everything's up, I'd rather be in the story than not be in the story. So we'll talk about it more in the future. But yeah, I remember with Jay Powell, again, Jay Powell said a quote over the week. Jay Powell said that we don't feel in any rush to decrease interest rates, right? Or he said, I quote, the economy is not giving us any unique reason to cut rates, or giving us an indication that we need to cut rates soon. The exact quote is, the economy is not sending any signal that we need to be in any hurry to lower rates. And you mix that with what David Einhorn said last week. David Einhorn also said, well, wait a second. Why do we think inflation is going to come down if we're going to have a ton of tariffs? And the 10-year is definitely not signaling that inflation is coming down either. The 10-year peaked last week. 4.43 is what we're looking at right now. I mean, until this 10-year gets below 4%, which I don't think is happening anytime soon, I think the market is still going to be worried about inflation. And we might need a couple rate cuts to get us down. By the way, unless this 10-year goes down, mortgage rates aren't coming down either. So that's another thing. And just in the housing market, we have to get ready to deal with. But overall, I think the big debate now is, will inflation actually come down? And it's crazy that we're talking about this. It's crazy that we're talking about inflation again as like the thing that, but like that's like, I mean, this is what happened back in the 80s, right? Like they thought they solved it and it came right back. And so now I think the relationship between Trump and Powell is also going to be really interesting, because obviously Trump wants lower rates. Powell probably will give us another rate cut. But if that CPI accelerates back to 3%, I think they're pausing, because they are taking they've already been hawkish for 18 months. So they've finally started being dovish over the past couple months as they've been lowering rates. They're not going to continue to be dovish if they see it coming back. And so that's something that we really, really need to think about when it comes to inflation coming down. Amit, no one cares. Let's talk about this Grindr thing. Dude, I will do a dedicated stream to that, and we will discuss it. I will do a dedicated stream to it. I will say there's a lot of videos of the CEO on YouTube that you guys can watch. And although he's not a founder, he has founded multiple companies, and he has the founder mentality, which is another big thing I look for when I invest, is like, is this guy or gal, thinking of this company as their life, right? And, it's worked out so far this year. Vlad, Karp, betting on founders, CrowdStrike, George Kurtz. I was in that for a little bit. Founders have a different level to them. Shopify founder, Spotify founder. Like, these companies that are run by founders, they're just different. And so I think viewing some videos of him and some interviews will be important as well to get an understanding of him as a leader. So here's the question. Do we think inflation is coming back? Oh, Rocket Lab. Yeah, Peter Beck. Rocket Lab had a great one as well. Do we think inflation is coming back? Let's do a poll on that. Do we think inflation is coming back? I'm actually, I don't know, bro. I really don't know. And I'm kind of nervous about it, but I also think like JPOW is going to give us a cut regardless. And then it's a 2025 issue. And when I mean is inflation coming back, I mean 3% or more. Do you think we're getting 3% headline CPI or more? That is the question. That is the question. Oklo. Okay, so one new update on Oklo. I know a lot of you guys care about this one as well. The Oklo update. One sec. Oklo update is that they. Hold on, I got a text message on this. Let me pull this up. Yeah, right here. Okay, so this is the big Oklo update. This is the big one. Okay. I don't know if it trades overnight, but this is the big Oklo update. So Trump's new Energy Department Secretary, Chris Wright, is on the board of directors of Oklo. Trump's new Energy Department Secretary, Chris Wright, is on the board of directors of Oklo. The United States, we looked at the article on Tuesday, already issued a press release, the whitehouse.gov, about increasing their nuclear capacity by over 3 times going into 2050. You've got Oklo, which is one of the 3 to 4 companies that are really innovating in the nuclear space. Sam Altman, the board of the company, and obviously the connection with OpenAI, that's probably a real thing. OpenAI needs more energy. Oklo can probably get some more deals. We had their earnings. Earnings was no real numbers, but they did say, hey, we have a ton of purchase orders, a ton of letters of intent of people that want to work with us to expand nuclear energy. And now you got one guy who's on the board of directors who is the new Energy Department Secretary. There is definitely an argument. I mean, if we're going to speculate around JD Vance and Palantir, we can definitely make the argument that Oklo has some momentum if it from a political perspective. Is Oklo tradable overnight? Let me see. Is Oklo tradable overnight? By the way, Palantir 67.40. We'll talk about Hood in a second. Oklo is not tradable overnight. It was up 1.89% after hours though on Friday, but it's not tradable overnight. So, and it took a nasty dip. It was down 24%. So, I mean, I'm not in this one. I think it's still a little too volatile for me. There's not really any cash flows to look at. There's not, it's kind of hard to take the bet, but it's a $2.5 billion company. And if you're betting that nuclear energy is just going to be more important over the next few years, and Trump's got some people in the White House that are connected to Oklo, Trump's just getting all these different people that are connected to Tesla, Palantir, like these different startups. And like that creates more momentum. And obviously that could be very positive for Oklo. Oklo's at 1951 on IBKR. Okay, so it's not on Robinhood, but on IBKR, then it is currently up right now. And there you go. That's what you got on Oklo. Now, when Oklo does start putting up some numbers and gets profitable, I think that'll be also very, very excited. Very, very exciting for the broader company and their trajectory. But we're going to have to see kind of what happens with Oklo over the long term. Again, a lot of the things that the Trump administration is doing for a variety of sectors, whether it's crypto or whether it's energy, does seem bullish. Now, in terms of crypto, I mean, let's talk a little bit about crypto. Crypto has been doing pretty well over the past couple of days, and Bitcoin has been doing its thing. Last night, I was surprised, dude. Bitcoin just, I mean, it's holding up serious momentum right here. 90,771. Look at that. It's up 0.18% right now. It's been holding up. It's been holding 90s. We've hit 90 like at least 30, 40 times at this point. And it's like actually been sitting at this 90,000 level. I think, Michael Saylor did say last week he believes 100K by New Year's Eve. I think it is possible if we get another rate cut and we get more liquidity entering the system. We saw money market funds go up by 80 billion last week. So obviously the money markets are not as excited to allocate capital into the crypto or equity markets, but there is money that's out there. And with Solana being relisted on Robinhood, with Coinbase listing all these meme coins. By the way, meme coin season is here. Talked to a couple people over the weekend who have made a lot of money off meme coins. I don't trade meme coins. I had my little stint with a meme coin back in February and made $2,000 on it. But like outside of that, you're getting a lot of more activity in the broader crypto sector. And that is super important for the momentum for crypto to continue going up. XRP, I'm getting 17 texts a day by our good friend Steve to keep looking into Ripple. Oh, by the way, the Ripple CEO is meeting with Trump soon as well. So Trump's just meeting with everybody, dude. He's meeting with everybody, and everything's that's speculated on based on who he's meeting with is going up. because they think that's bullish. So XRP, look at that, $1.10. That's up 84% over the past 7 days. So almost a double. You got Solana that's up 9% in the past 24 hours. I don't know what caused the Solana breakout, but 238. It was at like 213 yesterday. That's incredible. Ethereum is up a little bit. And then Bitcoin's up 11% over the past 7 days. Now a $1.79 trillion market cap. Cardano's up 18% over the past 7 days as well. You got Shiba Inu, which is now a $14 billion company or coin, Shiba Inu. Like obviously Dogecoin at 54 billion. That's up 25% this week. You've got the crypto markets excited, and that is what's leading to some strength in Bitcoin as well. SoFi overnight. What is SoFi overnight? Let's take a look at this. SoFi overnight is $13.89. SoFi looks like it wants to get to that $15 range and kind of stay there. So speaking of crypto, let's talk about one of the ways to play crypto, which is Robinhood. Here's a clip from Dumb Money, friend of the channel, Chris Camillo, his podcast on what he said about Robinhood over the week when they did their podcast on Thursday and where they think the world is going when it comes to cryptocurrencies and Robinhood itself and how they've been reflecting their positions based on these announcements.
By the way, I do think still one of my favorite crypto trades is just owning Robinhood. I just owning Robinhood and Coinbase obviously as well. Coinbase, but Hood. The fact that Hood added Solana this last week again,
yeah,
and now this is an interesting kind of side note on the deregulatory trade. The deregulatory trade, I think, benefits Hood in so many ways because Vlad is an animal when it comes to like new products and wanting to be in all this stuff. And the last 4 years, he's had a tremendous amount of pressure put on him from the regulatory environment, and they've withdrawn and have gotten conservative at Robinhood. In this new environment, I could see Robinhood doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Couldn't you?
Yeah, just on the rumor of Gensler being out, he relaunched all these coins. I think 3 or 4 of them.
I just think,
and they aren't quick to move. When the presidential election, once you could, which one was the first in the U.S.? I've already deleted their app. Kalshi. Once they got it approved, he had his futures products online for you to bet on the election within days, and he had millions of people doing it. And that was a tease of the actual futures product that they're about to roll out. They're just doing so many good things at Robinhood right now.
I still can't believe, like, if you go back in time, Vlad and his co-founder at Robinhood, I don't know if you remember this story. They were just hired coders for one of my investors in Florida he had a financial company in Florida, like he basically had a brokerage, and they were just like 2 hired crazy coders for his company. I'll never forget this. And this is an investor in Ticker Tags, Jordan, who's one of our LPs. And I'll never forget when they were starting Robinhood. I asked him, I was like, "Who are these?" He's like, "Oh yeah, they're sharp. They're kind of crazy, but they're sharp and crazy. But like, they just move at 100 miles an hour." And that kind of stuck in my head because we became, we were some of the earliest investors in Robinhood through Howard Lindson's fund at Social Leverage. And here we are today, and they still have that same mindset. You put them in a deregulatory administration, right? Like I can't even imagine the stuff they're going to be coming out with at Robinhood the next 2 years. Now they don't have to worry about getting squashed by government regulation. So I bought
squashed by regulation. I think a lot of the negative view of Robinhood has subsided also.
I agree. That's in the past as well. So Robinhood's become a pretty large position for me, and I kind of, like I said, I added some options as well this week. So
I put Robinhood's money where their mouth is on the matching funds that they gave me in my IRA. I invested all of that in Robinhood, and when they matched my funds for moving my account to them, I put all that in Robinhood stock.
So there you go. Pretty bullish from some momentum investors as well, thinking that the deregulatory environment for crypto is going to be super, super bullish. And obviously Gensler, our boy Gensler, said he's getting, I mean, he didn't literally say this, but Fox News is reporting that he is definitely stepping down soon. So if he's stepping down, last week he said, it's been a great honor to serve with them being the SEC, doing the people's work and ensuring that our capital markets remain the best in the world. All of the crypto overhang on companies like Robinhood and Coinbase that are trying to innovate but can't innovate because this guy who thinks he's the smartest guy in the world and understands what's best for the consumer, when in reality he's just like giving everyone a headache, he's now gone. And when someone like him is gone, I think when he's officially gone, that's when Bitcoin gets a little bit more of a pump. It already started pumping on Friday off the speculation that it would be gone. When he officially gets gone, I think that's going to be pretty damn bullish for Bitcoin. On top of that, your new Secretary of Health and Human Services tweeted this over the weekend, RFK. Bitcoin is the currency of freedom, a hedge against inflation for middle-class Americans, a remedy against the dollar's downgrade from the world's reserve currency, and the off-ramp from a ruinous national debt. Bitcoin will have no stronger advocate than Howard Lutnick. Also, RFK said on the UFC event that most of his wealth is now currently in Bitcoin. So he says pretty much everything he has from a wealth perspective, excess capital, is in Bitcoin. I mean, when you've got that many people cozying up with Trump inside that administration, it is tough to see the Trump administration not be bullish on crypto, not be bullish on Bitcoin, and ultimately that not be good for the broader sector. I think even if you're not bullish on Bitcoin, you have to have part of your portfolio exposed to the macro tailwind that is crypto deregulation and then the broader sector. And I love it via Hood. I think that's a real business that anyone can get behind that has a crypto tailwind. Coinbase is way more, up and down with crypto. So that's something you got to remember. And then MicroStrategy, obviously just pure alpha. You believe in Sailor's vision. IBIT, the BlackRock ETF, obviously is another proxy, but there's different ways to play it. Hood is my favorite way to play it. And it seems like a tailwind that's not ending anytime soon. It's just a tailwind that's not going to stop over the next couple of years. Just from a regulatory perspective, it does look like they will continue to maintain some strength. All right. And that's what we got, folks. That is what we got. I think we'll do like Q&A for the next 15, 20 minutes. I don't have anything else too big, but we talked about Tesla with the EV tax credit and now Trump easing up regulations. Palantir, let's check where Palantir's at in the pre-market. No real news on Palantir other than obviously the stock is continuing to do well. I know everyone is pissed off seeing this thing up another 2.5%. I'm telling you, dude, over Twitter, the amount of people this weekend that were upset about Palantir, like it's something I've never seen before. It's just like, it's so crazy, right? To talk about this for a little bit. When we were at $6, it was like, oh my God, everything's, ending. The world's falling apart. Palantir is like dead. And then now you're at 60 and everyone's like, no, it's too much. And it's like, I get it. They're both two different extremes. 60 is a lot. 6 is very low. But the people that were there at 6 and that have followed the story, like, people are mad at them. People are legit mad at people. Like, you got people calling people names. I'm just like, it's not that serious, bro. Like, if it does, is Nvidia really worth 3.3 trillion right now? Is Tesla really worth 1.1 trillion? Is Amazon really deserve to be worth 2.05 trillion? Like these are valuations are all subjective based on what people feel the stock is worth. And obviously, objectively, sometimes they can be expensive or not expensive, but it's not a reason to get upset at shareholders of Palantir that have done nothing other than just like hope the company executes, and the company is executed. And again, retail cannot pump this bad boy up to $150 billion. It's just not possible. Retail doesn't have the money to do that. This is not the type of deep liquidity stock like Tesla that has millions and millions most people don't even know what Palantir is, dude. Everyone knows what Tesla is. Everyone knows what Google is, Amazon is. Most people have no idea what Palantir is. So we know it's not retail. It just doesn't have the name recognition. My videos do not get millions and millions and millions of views at the end of the day. It's a select small group of people that understand the company. It's starting to, expand its brand horizon, but it's the toots. The toots want to be part of the story. And because the toots want to be part of the story, I think that's why the stock is going higher. Jayat says, Amit, do you think one bad quarter will bring the stock down? I mean, yeah, dude, if they miss on any of their numbers, if they deaccelerate growth from 30% to 28 or 27%, yeah, they're going to get hit. My question, and this is, we're going to have to see eventually if this happens, is how bad do they get hit if they get hit? Like, how bad, like, at this point, I think people are ready to buy the dip at 50. I think people are ready to buy the dip at 45. They're ready to buy the dip at 40. Does it dip to the point where everyone gets scared and like leaves? I don't know. And then you got this QQQ, right? The NASDAQ listing that's probably going to be happening either in December or early next year, that's going to force a ton of ETF buying. So, I mean, like, it's just an argument. Even if they miss, do people take that as an opportunity to buy the dip? That is the question. And I don't know. I don't think we fully understand the implications of what that would look like. Crazy people get mad at a company that does well. Yeah, it's like Palantir's not doing anything. People are buying their stock. Palantir's just here saying, hey, we're reaccelerating revenue growth. And if you guys want to buy the stock, you guys buy the stock. But at the end of the day, it is totally contingent upon what the market does. Now, here's how Palantir really takes a 50% decline. We have to have a big market correction. I think that would guarantee Palantir taking a big hit. But is that market correction, out there? I don't know. And again, I mean, like, usually no one knows before it happens, but like, is there really some catastrophic moment in the market where everyone says we got to pull our money out, valuation is getting ridiculous, yada, yada, yada? I think maybe if we get to like 6,200 on the S&P 500, that's possible, but we're not there yet. And we had a nice pullback on Friday, which was Palantir didn't have a pullback, but the broader market took a little bit of a dip. And again, it was pretty healthy. I mean, if we just look at the Qs on Friday. If we look at the Qs right here, down 2.38%, 515 to 496. That's not a bad pullback. Same thing with the S&P. S&P is now closer to where when Trump was elected versus higher at 585, down 1.28%. These were good pullbacks, but I do think these pullbacks will be bought as more investors say they want to be part of this market and they don't think that this market is going away anytime soon. A good indicator is Buffett is sitting on cash. Yeah, well, again, it was the weirdest thing when Buffett bought Domino's, right? It's like, I think a lot of people are starting to question what's going on with Berkshire because they have a ton of cash. They sold out of Ulta. Why did you even buy Ulta in the first place, right? Like, what is the logic there? So that was kind of like a weird move. And then buying Domino's, is that an argument that he thinks a recession is coming and pizza is going to be what people eat in the recession? It's like, I think a lot of people they have no idea. Like, no one really knows why they're holding on to all this cash and what's the logic behind it, but they are. And then obviously you got our boy Ackman buying 10 million plus shares of Nike. Is Nike a recession recovery play? Do people really buy new sneakers if we're in a recession? Probably not, right? Especially not overpriced sneakers with a check mark on it. So there has to be some level of recovery that Buffett's betting on, or that Ackman's betting on a Nike, and then Buffett is betting on some thesis on Domino's. Maybe it's tied to a macro event, maybe not. But both of these moves, I think, are pretty confusing to the broader street right now. How big of an impact do you think RFK will have on the pharma industry? So this is a good question. We looked, pharma just got hit over Friday. I don't know, dude. I feel like pharma got prematurely hit. I think investors like purely traded off sentiment, but I don't think necessarily it deserved to be there. So if we look at Pfizer, I mean, down 5% was bad. That was a pretty nasty decline that happened overnight on Pfizer when RFK got announced. Eli Lilly was down 5%. This was $1,000 stock at one point this year. This one took a little bit of a hit as well. BMY, Bristol Myers Squibb, they all took a hit. So all of them going down 3.9% to 4%. Moderna as well. I think the biggest problem with investing in pharma is what is in their pipeline. And I don't study pharma enough to know what is in the pipeline. Moderna down 7%. But these guys all exploded during COVID because in the pipeline was a vaccine. And I mean, unless these guys are curing really bad diseases, which the biggest innovation in cures we got over the past couple of years was GLP-1, quite frankly. And obviously Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk have exploded based on that. But what are they really solving? And are they solving something that's going to create new demand? Like, I'd rather buy Eli Lilly over any of these pharmacy companies because at least I know that they have something that's really working with GLP-1, whereas the other guys, they're going to have to come up with something. Yeah, monkeypox didn't end up becoming a thing yet. So that's why I would stay away from pharma. But I am looking at some other dividend plays going into 2025. And one dividend play I like that I'm doing some research on, and it's a pretty basic one, but I'm looking at it from a covered call perspective as well, is good old Verizon. Verizon realistically over the past 5 years was actually at like $60, right? So it was at $49 to $50, kind of. At one point, it got to 60 a couple years ago before that, but like 49-ish to 50 is kind of where your range was. And then COVID happened. It took a hit, 28, 25 during October. And I was just getting back to that $49 range. got a nice 6% dividend on this, 6.5%. Covered calls can get you another 1 to 2% a month. So you're manufacturing like another 2% monthly dividend, 1%, 1.5% monthly dividend. And if we get into a recession, I mean, people are not going to stop paying their phone bills because everyone needs a phone. So I think this is one of the defensive names that I like going into 2025. I don't know if the financials are in a recession going to be amazing. Like financials in 2025 should be good if we don't have a recession, but is it great owning regional banks if we do have a recession? I don't know. I mean, that's one of the things we have to, even with the dividend, I don't know if it's that attractive. But something like, I'm trying to find dividend names that I can sell covered calls on in 2025. And that if the shares get called away, I don't care. But if I keep them and I get that nice, 6 or 7% dividend, I'm willing to hold it. Pharma companies not willing to do that. Finance companies, maybe. I think it depends how the first 2-3 months of the year works. But some of these standalone names, and maybe that's why Buffett got into Domino's. Maybe. Does Domino's have a dividend? I think it has a very small dividend, but maybe that's another reason. Yeah, 1.4%, which is decent, 1.4%. And if he thinks fair value is closer to 500, which it was at before the July earnings, then he's maybe looking for capital appreciation along with the divvy. Bitcoin as well, 90,880 right now. Bitcoin trying to get back to 91,000 right now. Kinder Morgan. Oh, here's another one that I'm looking at. Steve would love this one, even though it's up 55%. So, a lot of these stocks here, this is the problem. Like you can't time them, right? But no one wants to be buying them at all-time highs, but it's kind of the nature of the market right now. ET, Energy Transfer. This is a great one. In a great space, good dividend at 7.46%. It's up a lot this year, but this is one of the years it broke out. So I've been holding it for a long time. Then congrats on this one. But this is another one where energy, we know demand is going to continue to exist for energy. Kinder Morgan is another one I like as well. You get some nice dividends. The covered call premiums on both of these stocks kind of suck, Kinder Morgan and ET. But if you can get another 0.5% out of it, because you're already getting like an 8% dividend, so you don't really need the covered call premium as much. But if you can even get, a couple $100 per month out of these with covered calls, I think it's worth it, given the dividend as well. So we're going to work in 2025 and kind of see what different picks look like in terms of navigating a unknown environment. I think the thing about 2025 is just it's unknown, right? Like no one freaking knows. Like we are going to be so annoyed in 2025 if like the whole market takes a 10%, 20% decline, which, if it did happen, I don't think anyone would be like, oh, that's that. We never thought of that would happen, because like it's up right now. Markets are up a lot. And so trying to position to be a little bit more defensive while still maintaining risk in 2025, I think is going to be the biggest challenge. Big tech, does that get corrected? I think Meta's undervalued at 560, but does the market really take it to 650 anytime soon? Oh, Google. Here's another one I was thinking about. Google. I'm seriously thinking a little bit more about Google because I was just looking at their financials over the weekend. If I'm Beneficial is in here, he's going to be happy about this. But like Google's financials are ridiculous, bro. I don't think we are really giving them enough credit for how much net income and free cash flow these guys are putting up in regards to their cloud growth and their overall moat in search. Now, the fear is that their market share for search is going to go away. I think that's a legitimate fear. I think that's not a horrible fear. The DOJ fear stuff I think is non-existent now. I think Trump's getting rid of Lena Khan and DOJ is going to get off their back. But the perplexity taking away Google's moat, is that a real thing? I think it is. I just don't think, given the cash that Google has and the market share that they have, that Perplexity is anywhere even close to doing that. Long term, do I want to own Google for the next 10 years? Probably not, even though I think Google will probably be bigger than what it is right now in the next 10 years, even if it doesn't, caker as aggressively as like Amazon or Tesla or something. But I think as a stock that's kind of safe, because I'm thinking in the Mag 7, right? What's a Mag 7 stock that's safe? None of them. Like none of them are Apple's people complain about Palantir's valuation. Apple, you're fucking paying 34 times for 0% growth. That's not safe. Microsoft is up 10% this year. I think the street doesn't fully believe that Copilot is real yet. That's not safe. Amazon, I think, is one of the more safer ones, but Amazon's now at all-time highs. Bezos just sold. So the likelihood that Amazon keeps breaking all-time highs, it's possible, but Amazon also, people are probably going to take their profits up 40%. NVIDIA, we don't know what the hell happens with NVIDIA. It's the opposite of safe. It's probably going to be around, but you just never know what happens with NVIDIA. They have a delay with their servers. Anything could happen. Miss a couple numbers. It proves out to be more cyclical than not. So that one's a little scary. Meta, I think, is relatively safe. I don't think Meta is going anywhere, but you're paying an advanced premium in terms of the forward growth versus Google. Google is trading at 21 times earnings. And so when you think about something that can take a correction, even if Google takes a correction it just gets way more attractive, right? Google's trading at a 21 times price to earnings right now. I mean, come on, dude. Like, that's absolutely incredible right here. And so if you're thinking 2025, what is a Mag 7 name that I don't think is going to have a massive correction, even if it doesn't have massive growth? I feel like that is Google. And I think the covered calls you can generate off this, or even cash cleared put premiums, are also really good. And if you get assigned, it's Google. At the end of the day, there's a company that does $88 billion of revenue every 90 days. They're not going anywhere, right? And the first sign that Perplexity is taking their lunch, I think people will know. But as of now, Perplexity is just not taking their lunch. ChatGPT search is not taking their lunch. And the numbers in Google are showing that it's not really taking their lunch yet. I think the only risk is the DOJ stuff, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. Your employer is a safe pick. Yeah, and also I get paid by Google, right? Like, that's another thing I was thinking about. I was like, wait a second. I'm on YouTube. I'm on YouTube all the time. My YouTube channel is growing. I'm growing. I'm literally on YouTube like 10 hours a day, just even if there's videos in the background. Like, how do I not have any money inside of the thing that I'm using every single day, which at the end of the day is owned by Google? So Wendy's for the dividend. Yeah, Wendy's is not a horrible one. We saw some of the bigger investors buy some Wendy's as well when we were looking at the 13Gs, 13Fs. So I'm thinking of 2025. How do we be safe and defensive? Get a little bit of a dividend, either manufactured or internally inside of the stock, and not be scared. Like, buying Nvidia at 150, dude, is scary. Like, it just is. It's scary. Buying freaking Apple at 230 is very scary. Like, these are not names that I would feel comfortable at all buying in 2025 at the top of the year, assuming that, oh, these are the plays I want to be with. Now, maybe over the next couple of years, it'll work out because it's Apple and it's Nvidia, they'll be fine. But if I want to like maintain a position that has upside on the stock, that is trading at a multiple where if you buy Google at 21 times earning and Google goes down to 10 times earnings, and let's say it drops 30%, I don't think you look like an idiot. I think you look like someone who's like, all right, I took a bet on a stock that was the cheapest out of the Mag 7. It's gotten even cheaper. The question is fundamentally what has changed. Is Perplexity taking their lunch and I was just wrong on the thesis, or is the market correcting right now? Versus buying a stock at 34 times earnings, like Apple, and then it drops to 17 times earnings. Like, oh yeah, no shit, they weren't growing. Why are you paying 34 times zero growth, right? It doesn't make any sense. So the Google decline to me is easier to stomach versus an Apple and Nvidia decline is harder to stomach because they're trading at all-time highs. And Amazon. I'm bullish on Amazon as well. It's just Amazon's up a lot more than Google. Google gave back all of its earnings gains. It was basically at 170 before earnings. It went all the way up to 185. Now it's back at 172. So Google really has not had a lot of love. Year to date, it's up 24%. Amazon is up about 40%. Even though Amazon, I do agree, is a way better business than Google. Amazon up 35% currently right now. So those are some of the plays I'm thinking about in 2025. Google, Energy Transfer, Verizon, a little bit more safer. Also, did you guys, like, here's another thing I was looking at. Reddit, bro. Now look, it's not the most safest company. Obviously, they're not as big as Google or anything like that. They're up another 3% after hours. But if you look at the covered call premiums, I couldn't believe what I was looking at today. These freaking covered call premiums. If I want to sell a call, let's go to December 20th, so 33 days out. I'm gonna take a look at this, dude. They are paying you $7.45 a share for these covered calls for 130. Meaning, if I had 500 shares, so I would have spent $60,000 to buy 500 shares at 124. Right now, it's at 128. Let's assume it was 124. I could sell 5 covered calls at $7.45. I would get paid $3,700 on 500 shares for the stock going up to 130. If I bought it at 124, so even if you do have to sell it at 130, you make $6 a share, you make another $3,000. I mean, the covered call premiums were kind of ridiculous. I was just like, okay, so the call buyers are stepping into Reddit because they think, I mean, if you go to December 27th, 40 days out, look at these premiums. Even if you go to 140, they're paying you $4.95 a share. I mean, it's just incredible. Now, is Reddit at risk? Yes, because Reddit is up a lot this year. Reddit year to date is up 277%, but they're now profitable. And because they're now profitable, I think a lot of these call buyers are just saying, wait a second, if it's profitable, they're only going to keep getting profitable. It's kind of like a Carvana situation to me. Carvana has not had a dip because they surprised with profitability and used cars are exploding. And so Carvana is just in the right space. With Reddit, their users are exploding. Their advertising is exploding. Their AI capabilities are exploding. People just keep finding Reddit more and more and more. And they're profitable now. So maybe the street's pulling forward some growth. But if they keep hitting on their numbers, I think Reddit's going to be good. That's another one that if you want to get some juicy covered call premium next year, might not be the worst situation as well. So there's a lot of different stocks out there that I think are kind of hidden gems going into 2025. But it all depends on if we get another rate cut, if inflation comes down, and kind of what the macro scene looks like going into January, February. Chris, thank you for the $5 super chat. Thoughts on Kava? So Kava is really interesting. Given the current market cap of Kava, every Kava location is worth $50 million. I saw that stat and I was like, okay, this is a little, I mean, if you step into a Kava, is it worth 50 million realistically? You know, is it really worth 50 million? I've never stepped into a Kava, so maybe I haven't had the experience of it. But it kind of feels like Kava's a bit expensive. Now, granted, they're growing at 40%, so revenue growth is there. Stock's at $16 billion. I mean, I don't know. I have to do a lot more DD on this one, but I would see, I feel more comfortable buying Reddit up 300% year to date than buying Kava up 150% year to date or 200% year to date, because Reddit is a tech company. Reddit can grow exponentially. Kava can't grow exponentially. They're a restaurant at the end of the day, right? Now they've grown really well this year, but I'd rather bet on some type of tech and network effects to kind of establish some more momentum. Also, I don't know if the Kava premiums are on the covered call aspect of it. I'll take a look at those, but for Reddit, I do think the cover call premiums are not horrible. What is Texas Roadhouse's market cap? Are they lower than Kava? Texas Roadhouse market cap. These guys are 13. Wow, Texas Roadhouse is $3 billion cheaper on a market cap basis than Kava. I think they're much bigger in terms of revenue and profitability for damn sure. They're way more profitable than Kava. Yeah, so the market's giving Kava a hell of a premium right now, and that's why it's a little bit more risky trying to get in ultimately at these levels. Can Starlink disrupt Verizon? I don't know. I think there's probably a world where you can make the argument that Starlink could disrupt some of these current telecommunication providers, but I think they're also going to be very symbiotic in terms of their relationship with them. I think they're going to be working with the telecommunication providers versus taking their lunch necessarily. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I don't think it's necessarily as competitive. Also, we saw SpaceX raise at a $250 billion market cap on Friday. They're doing a tender offer, which is up from $210 billion. That sets, you could argue a little bit more of a TAM for Rocket Lab. That's another stock I'm looking at in 2025. I mean, look, Rocket Lab is still a less than $5 billion company right now, I think. No, they're more than $5 billion. They're way more than $5 billion. What am I saying? They are $9.5 billion. It's a little tough buying it at 19, but if you look at the covered call premiums on Rocket Lab, it's insane as well. So if you start to have something where there's real momentum, and if I have the DCA from 19 down in 2025, if it's even 19, maybe it's higher if I start buying in 2025, then I'm happy to DCA if I can keep selling covered calls against it. And so far, the call buyers are not going away. Or it doesn't look like they're going away, at least not yet. So again, a lot of these different stocks showing some strength. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Redneck J Dog. It's a hell of a name. What about Walgreens at $8 per share right now? So we talked about Walgreens on the show. The risk to Walgreens is that they end up like CVS or Rite Aid, where they just end up going bankrupt because they can't get their stuff together. The benefit to Walgreens is that they're going to get rid of a lot of locations next year. I think it's close to like 1,500 stores, and that should increase the EPS estimates. That should decrease their operating expenses. Overall, that should be net bullish. Rob, thank you for the $5 super chat as well. Appreciate it. But the fear on Walgreens is like the business model sucks. And I don't think it's that exciting to bet on a retail pharmacy. Along with Amazon potentially coming in and taking a little bit of Walgreens lunch. We saw what they did to Hims. Like it's a tough spot to be in right now. But I understand people that are excited for Walgreens. I get it. At $8 a share, it is priced for bankruptcy. And if it doesn't go bankrupt, then maybe it's like not $8 in a year. But there are risks associated with Walgreens. Could Amazon buy Walgreens? So I think that is possible. The problem is, will this FTC actually allow it? And look, it's more friendlier than Lena Khan, but I don't know. Amazon buying Walgreens is, even if they pay a good premium on that's a lot of more power going to Amazon. I would be okay with it. As like, if I was an Amazon shareholder, I would love that, especially if they can get it cheap. But they're going to have to navigate that from a regulatory perspective. Hood Investor Day. Hood Investor Day is December 4th. I will be there with Roy and Tanner. We're all going to be at the Investor Day. I was listening to Jason Warnick's presentation. So the CFO did a presentation with Wolf Research over the week, and I was listening to that recently. And look, they're pretty damn bullish. They're pretty damn confident. I think they're going to unveil some new things for their 10-year future. Jason Warnick, the CFO on the conference call, he was basically saying that, hey, we think that we are getting to the point as a company that's mature enough to show our vision over the next 10 years. And I think there's just so many different ways that Robinhood is attacking this, dude. Like, I think there's so many things they're getting ready to do. The big thing about Robinhood, as bullish as I am, the one part of bearishness that I need to continuously communicate is that they are a cyclical business. They are more cyclical than NVIDIA. Why? Because when the market goes up, Robinhood has trading volumes. When the market is flat or down, Robinhood has relatively not as strong trading volumes as they do when the market goes up. So what does that mean for investors? That means that you kind of need a bull market for Robinhood to be good. Now, I want to be an investor long-term, and if it drops back down to 15 or 14 again, I would love to gobble up shares and just hold those for the long term, because over the long term, markets go up, right? And Robinhood can innovate and diversify outside of just being contingent on trading revenue, trading volumes. But if we get a little bit of downturn in the first 5 months of 2025, we're going to see that impacting Robinhood. Now, granted, given Bitcoin's doing well, I think that's a tailwind for them. And if Bitcoin does well, the whole market should be able to do well. So I think next 2 quarters can be really good for them. But I think on December 4th, they're just going to outline their vision on how to continuously be as strong as they've been. S&P inclusion is possible for them next year. That's a big catalyst that could happen. Also, advisory is what the CFO talked about. Advisory is giving advice is a bigger market, financial advice, than even self-directed brokerages. So that's a massive TAM they could go after. If they create some AI solutions or some human AI interaction advisors. And so there's a lot of ways I think they can continue to gain momentum. If they can start paying dividends, that will help investors with the cyclicality. Yeah, but they're too small to pay dividends right now, right? They're a small company. Robinhood just needs to keep investing in growth. Same thing with SoFi. Everyone's like, when is SoFi going to get it? It's like, SoFi doesn't, dude, they're growing 30%. Why do they need to give a dividend? Like, as long as they keep growing, even if at 20% over the next 4 or 5 years, it's hard to compound a business 20%. So that matters way more than the dividend. What do you think of the Honest company? Again, I like their earnings. I don't know much about the stock. Earnings were great. I personally am not that excited about the company itself. It's an interesting company. It's I know it's like a cheap stock on paper, under $10 or whatever, but not the biggest fan of like their perceived moat, because I don't really think they have a moat, but they have good growth, which is good. And so those earnings were obviously very, very good for Honest. Would Enphase be a good bounce play if the IRA doesn't go away? I think so. I mean, we saw Enphase start to get a little bit of love on Thursday, and then it got hit on Friday. Where was it on Friday? Yeah, it fell another 6% on Friday, dude. Meet Kevin has officially bought back into Enphase. He sent out an alert like on Thursday. So he's back into Enphase. He believes that they've bottomed. Their PEG ratio is lower than 1 at this point, so the growth is still there. I just don't know how in a Trump administration there's like a massive tailwind for solar. I don't see it. And that is the problem I have with Enphase. Long term, I think if you're buying shares right now to hold on to them for the next 4 years, I don't think it's a horrible thing. And again, there's probably other tailwinds outside of just the headwind that is the regulatory environment around solar. But I don't know, dude. I just think there's better opportunities. If we're gonna bottom fish, I think there's either. I mean, look, I don't know. Okay, so here's a question. This is a fun one. Who Celsius or Enphase? Which one would you rather buy? Let's see what people say. Celsius or Enphase? I was about to say I might buy Celsius over Enphase, but I actually think I would buy Enphase over Celsius. What do you guys think? Put in the chat. Celsius or Enphase? Celsius or Enphase? Amit, I thought you purchased 1 share of Rocket Lab on air last week. I did. I purchased it at $20.50. I'm currently down on that share. I was up 7% when it went all the way to 22. Do you guys remember when it went to $22, bro? It was up 50%. So I still have that share, but now I'm down on that share. I think I got more Enphase in the chat. More Enphase in the chat, baby. Enphase. Yeah, see, dude, no one likes Celsius, bro. Fucking Celsius. Did you guys see the Jake Powell fight with Mike Tyson? We didn't even talk about that. How did no one mention that in the chat? What did you guys think about that? Jake Powell versus Mike Tyson. What did you guys think? It was the first fight I've watched in a long time, and that's only because it was on Netflix. If I had to pay for that fight, I would be pissed off if I had to pay pay-per-view for that. Okay, most people are saying Enphase. What do you guys think? I know it's Paul. I'm just saying Jake Powell because that's what I said on Friday. That's how obsessed I was with Powell this week. I called him Jake Powell. So everyone's saying it's fake. Who thought it was fake? Who thought this was a fake fight? Who thought this was scripted for money? Who genuinely believes that? Like genuinely believe that this was a fake fight? Did you see Taylor versus Serrano? No, I didn't see. I heard that was a good one, but I didn't see that one before. I mean, we were doing Palantir Weekly, like right when the fight was starting, so I didn't get to see too much. I don't think it was fake, but I agree with Sarah. I think it was a money grab. I think both of them knew that this is an opportunity to make a lot of money. Mike Tyson obviously could not keep up with Jake. It was, I mean, like, but by the 4th or 5th round, he's 58, dude. It's okay. Like, it happens, right? You get older. He couldn't do it. So I thought that was like, all right, obviously Jake was going to win. And also I found out, I didn't know this, but 8 months ago, Mike Tyson said he almost died. He had to get blood transfusions and there was stuff wrong with his heart. Why is he fighting a couple months later? Or I think it was 3 months ago, not even 8 months ago. But like, why is he fighting in a ring with a 20-something-year-old when you almost died? I think he did it, because he wanted to just prove he could do it. So maybe there was some ego there about just him getting up and going toe for toe with someone for 16 minutes. But B, I think he got paid like $30 million. And if you're 58 or 85 or 23, $30 million is $30 million. That's a lot of money. Or 20 million, whatever it is. So, I think at the end of the day, he wanted the money grab, but he also probably wanted to see if he could keep it going, So this is what he said right here. Yeah, he said he almost died in June. So this was like 4 or 5 months ago. This was his tweet after hours. See, this is my problem, bro. I said this was his tweet after hours. I meant to say after the fight. This fucking stock market terminology is just like embedded in everything. This is one of those situations where you lost but still won. I'm grateful for last night. No regrets to get in the ring one last time. I almost died in June, had 8 blood transfusions, lost half my blood and 25 pounds at the hospital, had to fight to get healthy to fight, so I won. To have my children see me stand toe-to-toe and finish 8 rounds with a talented fighter half my age in front of a packed Dallas Cowboy stadium is an experience that no man has the right to ask for. Thank you. I mean, you got to give it up to him, right? He actually got into the ring. He got into the ring. But after watching it, it didn't feel fake. It just felt like they were going for the money. I don't think they literally scripted it. I don't think that. I think if Tyson had the chance to knock him out, Tyson would have knocked him out. And if he did that, that would be crazy. But I think I don't think he agreed, okay, Jake, you're going to win, but I'm going to make the money. I think it was a legit fight. It's just, we could tell Tyson was not at the stamina that he needed to actually, do it right. But he got in the ring. And at 58, that's absolutely incredible, actually. Last thing, and he made $20 million. Rob, thank you for the $5 super chat. Do you think Netflix will dip this week due to the poor quality of the fight? Let's check right now in the overnight markets. My fight was fine. My Netflix was fine. I know a lot of people complained, but my Netflix had no issues. Netflix is down 0.08% right now. Now, I don't think Netflix needs to dip on this, dude. At the end of the day, Netflix had 90 million people watching. 90 million people is more than pretty much every UFC fight, I think, over the past 5 years is the stat I heard. 90 million is huge. Obviously, Netflix is free. I mean, if you pay for it, it's free. You don't have to pay additional for the fight, so people could easily just log on. So their servers took a bit of a, their servers got hit because I don't think they expected that much demand. But I don't think this is a reason to sell Netflix. I mean, that's a stupid reason to sell Netflix. Maybe the street will sell it off. But if this is the reason to sell Netflix because they have too much demand, no, that's okay, the team's going to work on it, get better the next live event. If they can continuously execute and they fix their database issues, they should be able to handle it, right? So this would be a dumb reason to sell Netflix, in my opinion, but the street might sell them off. Overall, I thought it was a W for Netflix. I thought it was a big win. If Netflix gets into the live sports market in a realistic way, meaning they get, you might not like the title Tyson versus Paul, but that was something that got everybody interested, including myself, who doesn't care about boxing. If they actually get some NBA live games, maybe some NFL, I know Amazon Prime has a lot of deals. If they get some MLB, maybe the Olympics comes to Netflix and say, hey, instead of going to CBS, we're going to you guys. There's so many different opportunities over the next 10 years. This was a stepping. Also, they got the WWE deal, so they're going to have wrestling on there for the next couple of years. A lot of opportunities for Netflix. They're already into hockey. See, I didn't even know that. They're already into hockey. But yeah, they definitely have to fix their servers because they got to be able to handle that much demand if that's happening. They did show us Tyson's cheeks. Correct. I saw that right before Palantir Weekly. I was about to go live for Palantir Weekly, and I'm scrolling on Twitter. I'm like, oh, those are Tyson's cheeks. There you go. That's that's pretty incredible. They use AWS too. Yeah, they use AWS as well. That's why every time everyone watches Netflix or you listen to Spotify, Amazon gets paid, because both those companies have older content on AWS. Why are we standing? Because I got a standing desk and I kind of like it, dude. I really like it. I like the movement of my hands. I like walking around. The full setup is not perfect right here, and I got to adjust the camera so I'm like looking at the camera versus looking at the screen. But I like it. I like it. Am I a little tired standing up? Yeah, but like it's been in 90 minutes and I feel good. And I think it's healthier than sitting down for 90 minutes. So, I mean, maybe on the market opens where we go for like 3 hours, we'll do a, we'll sit down a bit. But let me see if I hold on. I got to see how much I can lift this chair up. Maybe it, no, it doesn't lift up too much. I got to see if I can get the chair to go even higher. If I get a really big chair, maybe I can sit at this area. So I don't even have to like lower everything, and I can sit at these areas as well. You need a podium. Oh my gosh. When real bricks, they are real bricks. When real bricks. They've been, how do they not look real, dude? Like now you see them up close. That's a real brick, bro. Like, tired of this conspiracy theory everyone has. Next phase is the treadmill. Yeah, we got to get the walking treadmill under it. I like it though. I like it. I have so much space. I have all my screens. I can actually see stuff. Like, I really like this. I like this setup. And so we will continue to try to keep it going. Those Minecraft bricks. Oh my gosh. Did you get your Palantir for your license plate yet? No, I didn't get that. I'll have to customize it eventually. I will customize it soon. It was fun though, snapping Adam's camera or Adam's car yesterday and getting that in New York. All right. I think that's pretty much it. SMCI is up right now because they announced that they're going to file the 10K. That's why they're up right now. So we'll see tomorrow kind of how the market interprets it. But if they're, filling out that 10K report, then that's why people are buying up some of the stocks. Because your left shoulder, the bricks are severely wrinkled. They don't look wrinkled to me. They look fine. I don't know where you see wrinkling. Are you guys trying to gaslight me into thinking that the bricks are... Dude, they look fine. Yeah, they don't look wrinkled. Where do you see a wrinkle, dude? They look real. Dude, these are fine. They're fine. Sometimes you need to not question things, Everyone's questioning Palantir's valuation. It's like, relax. We don't got to question Palantir's valuation. We don't got to question the bricks. We don't got to question things. So everyone wants to we should just enjoy the ride. And that's not happening right now for Palantir. Everyone's upset. U.S. finalizes CHIPS Act award to Taiwan Semi $11.6 billion in funding. The U.S. government is giving $6.6 billion in grants and $5 billion in loans to TSM. Is TSM up right now in the overnight markets? TSM is slightly up. TSM got hit badly too. It was at 200. Now it's at 186 this week. Also, we have NVIDIA earnings this week. Jose will be on in the morning on Tuesday to discuss it, and then we'll have earnings on Wednesday. That's going to be crazy. I forgot we have NVIDIA earnings. That's going to be wild. And so that is the big news of this week. If we get through NVIDIA earnings safe and sound, your bricks looks like Tyson's cheeks. Oh my God. If we get through NVIDIA's earnings safe and sound, I think hopefully the only challenge left to end out 2024 and actually have a good year and get through it is inflation. We get through inflation, we get through NVIDIA earnings, we have a good year. We have a relatively good year. Those are the last things that we have to work on. DD on XRP yet? No, I'll be doing next Friday. Me and Steve will talk about XRP more in depth. Still doing some research on them. I mean, look, Steve has an argument on XRP, but the only reason XRP is up is because crypto is up. And he doesn't understand that. He thinks he's got XRP right. It's like, no, mother. Like everything in crypto is up. Obviously, XRP is going to pump. XRP is not independently pumping. So it is, he's getting super excited for it. But I'm like, but everything's up. So it's not XRP alone. But granted, there is some good due diligence behind XRP. But Ripple is not going up by itself. That's why on the market close, I was like, how do you not believe in Bitcoin, but you believe in Ripple? It's just like, well, Bitcoin has no utility. Okay, but without Bitcoin, there would be no Ripples. Like, obviously, there is a foundational element to this asset class that derived the other asset classes that you're excited about, but you're not caring about that first asset class, right? But there is some good arguments for XRP. Lee says, I hope Palantir is more genuine than those bricks. Well, I hope their earnings growth is also much more genuine. And if it is, then maybe they can keep this run going for the long term. Those are budget Tamu bricks. Bro, you guys really don't believe it on the bricks. All right, you can believe what you want to believe. All I know is that I installed the bricks myself. That is a fact. I installed the bricks myself. Now, what does it mean by installing? That is subjective. But what is undeniable is 3 years ago, I installed the bricks. You know, we can define installing as however you want to define installing. It is, you know, that's subjective. It's up to interpretation. But I did do it. I went through the pain of putting up the bricks. Let's just say that. So they are indeed from a labor of love. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. Again, overnight markets. Let's take a look at what we got. Palantir still up to 3%, 67.80 in the overnight markets. Tesla getting love from the self-driving regulatory environment being enhanced. 334 up 4.3%, and Nvidia at 143. Nvidia is actually up 0.85%, which is not too bad for Nvidia. All right. That's it. That is it, folks. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Someone asked about AMD. I don't love AMD. I'd probably buy NVIDIA over AMD, but I do think that AMD, long term, obviously will rise with the broader chip marketplace. But I just think the growth is not like NVIDIA's growth. So even at 150, I'd rather bet on something that I know is growing over something like NVIDIA. What is pumping Palantir this high? Your guess is as good as mine, Lee. Your guess is as good as mine. I really don't know. I talked to a lot of people this weekend. We had a whole Palantir Weekly episode about it. We can't figure it out because retail's not buying, bro. I mean, maybe there's some retail that's FOMOing in, but everyone that I know is not buying at 65. And they really haven't been buying since 45. So if retail's not buying, I have to say it's the institutions. And Karp is selling. So he's selling to the institutions. So I think what's pumping Palantir is the institute. I really just think it's the institutional ownership increasing, institutions not giving a shit about valuations. They're buying it in. Their institutions are FOMOing in, which is hilarious because usually retail, like the story of Palantir is that it was a retail frenzy stock and everyone was bag holding. Now retail's, selling the bags to institutions that are FOMOing in to something that retail kind of FOMOed into, including myself in 2021 when I bought it at like $27. And the story has fundamentally changed and flipped. And so I don't know. My best explanation is institutions want to be part of this story. And maybe after a couple quarters, if there's some bad earnings, they might not be part of it. But if they keep wanting to be part of the story, then I think it continues to go higher. Retail is 100% FOMOing. 2 people in my life that know nothing about stocks told me that they bought Palantir last week. So I'm not saying retail is not FOMOing. I definitely think there's retail that's like buying it at these levels. But I just don't think the majority of retail is doing it. I really don't. I mean, if they are, then that means there's going to be, if they are, there's a correction, there's going to be a lot of retail bag holders. And they might end up selling their bags even more. So that creates an even bigger correction, right? If that's happening. If the toots are buying it, they could sell it off, but a lot of them are probably going to hold on to the positions in DCA. So we will, eventually see kind of how the broader market can, thinks of retail and Palantir's ownership. I just don't think it's retail. You're going up $2 billion a day. Really? Retail's buying up $2 billion of stock every day? I mean, for the past 10 days, literally, we have gone up at least $1, right? Every day. And so that's $2.2 billion, 2.2 billion shares. So you need a lot of buying pressure. Does retail have $20 billion in the past 10 days that they dumped into Palantir? Maybe. But I just think it's unlikely given Palantir is not as global of a name as the Teslas and Amazons and Nvidias of the world. So I think it's more toots than anything. And ultimately, they're going to decide if they're part of the story or not over the next 10 years. Nancy did not buy Palantir. When Nancy buys Palantir, then we're officially going to the moon. But she has not bought Palantir yet. But if she does, then we'll know what's happening. All right. That's it for me. As Kevin says, Palantir is nowhere near a household name yet. Imagine when it is. Yeah, and that's why I think it's not retail. But when it gets there, it can be very, very exciting for Palantir. All right, guys. I'll be back 8:45 tomorrow morning. This week, do we have earnings on tomorrow? Let's see what earnings we have. This week is going to be important mainly for NVIDIA on Wednesday. Tomorrow, we have nothing. Monday, we have Tuesday, we have Walmart and Lowe's. So Tuesday is going to be important. Then Wednesday, we have Target and Neo in the morning. A couple other names. And then after hours on Wednesday, we have NVIDIA and Snowflake, Palo Alto Networks. So there's going to be 3 big names on Wednesday that we're going to be taking a look at. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow standing and seeing if I can get I feel pretty good, dude. It's been 90 minutes. I feel pretty good. I like it. It feels good. I think this might be the new wave. So I'll be back tomorrow, 8:45 for the market open. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Good night.